If you're an online earner, chances are the problem isn't that you don't make enough money. The problem is your current lifestyle and your location are quietly blocking your wealth growth, your social life, and the future life you actually want. And most people don't realize this until years have gone by and look back wondering why things didn't progress as fast as they expected. This isn't about running away from problems or making some dramatic life change. It's about recognizing that where you live has a massive impact on everything. How much you save, who you meet, what opportunities you see, and what kind of life feels possible. Let me explain exactly what I mean. So a lot of entrepreneurs hit this phase and not enough people talk about it, honestly. You're making money, maybe not crazy amounts, but decent income. You're independent. You're technically free to work wherever you want, set your own schedule, and build something you actually care about. But day to day, it feels repetitive. You wake up, you work from home or from the same coffee shop, maybe hit the gym, work some more, eat dinner alone, go to bed, then repeat tomorrow. And the people around you work normal jobs and can't really relate to what you're building. And financially, things feel slower than they should. You're making money, but it's not translating into wealth as fast as you'd expect. You're not broke, but you're also not building that financial security or investment portfolio that comes with entrepreneurial income. You expected more momentum by now, not just financially, but in life overall. Better social life, more interesting experiences, clearer direction on where you're heading, but instead, everything just feels stuck. That disconnection eats at people. It creates a frustration where you're technically successful, but emotionally and socially unfulfilled. You're making money, but feeling poor in other ways that matter just as much. I felt this exact way before I started traveling and living abroad. I was making good money, completely independent, but my life felt small and isolated. And I couldn't figure out why until I changed my location. Let's address the biggest unspoken problem for online entrepreneurs: loneliness. This is something people don't talk about publicly because it doesn't fit the successful entrepreneur image, but it's incredibly common. You work alone most of the time, you live alone or live with a roommate who works different hours. Your friends who you knew before starting an online business are working 9-to-5 jobs or they're still in university. They're busy during the day when you might want to hang out, and they can't exactly relate to your lifestyle or your challenges. Your days blur together. Your Monday feels like Thursday, feels like Saturday because there's no external structure. You might be making progress on your business metrics, but socially and emotionally it feels empty. You see other entrepreneurs on social media posting about their lives. It seems exciting and social, but your actual experience is spending most of your time working alone on your laptop in a room with no one around you. And this is all without the built-in social structure that normal 9-to-5 jobs can have. Normal jobs give you coworkers to grab lunch with, built-in social interactions throughout the day, office events, happy hours. Entrepreneurship gives you freedom and income, but it can be incredibly isolating if you're not intentional about building a social life. And this loneliness affects everything. It makes you feel less motivated to work. It makes you question if the freedom is worth it. It makes you less creative because you're not having those conversations that spark new ideas. I experienced this heavily when I first started making money online. I was proud of what I was building. Besides my family, I would go entire days only talking to people on Discord or on messages. No spontaneous conversations, no social energy. A lot of entrepreneurs try to solve this by going to coffee shops or co-working spaces. And that helps a little, but it doesn't help enough. Here's something that happens when you stay in your same town for too long while building your business. Your life becomes efficient but narrow. You know the best coffee shops, you have your gym routine, you know which restaurants you like, you have your small circle of friends which you see occasionally. Everything is optimized and somewhat comfortable, but something subtle is happening. You stop meeting new types of people. You stop being exposed to new ideas and new ways of thinking. You stop seeing different approaches to life and business. For someone trying to build a big life and successful business, this can be dangerous. You're basically operating in an echo chamber of your own existing worldview. I noticed this when I was living in the same place for years. The same conversations, the same people, the same places, the same perspectives. Even though I was consuming content online and learning, my actual lived experiences were very narrow. You miss meeting people doing the things you've never considered. You miss seeing how people in other countries approach work-life balance differently. You miss understanding different markets and opportunities. You miss the perspective shifts that come from experiencing completely different environments. And the comfortable environment tricks you into thinking everything's fine. You're not in crisis, you're making money, you have a routine, but you're not growing as much as you could be, and you won't realize that until later. So let me explain something that most people don't fully grasp. Where you live doesn't just affect your rent payment. It affects literally every aspect of your life in ways that compound over time. Location determines who you meet. If you're in a small town, you're meeting people from that town. If you're in a small city without many entrepreneurs, you're not meeting many entrepreneurs. If you're in an expensive city, the people probably have high expenses and probably have other priorities. Location shapes how your social life works. The dating pool in a small town is completely different than in a major city. The dating culture in one country is completely different than in another country. This matters if you're thinking about long-term relationships. Location influences the ambition levels around you. If you're surrounded by people who are content with modest goals, that becomes your baseline. If you're around people who are building aggressive businesses, that becomes normal. Location and environment set lifestyle standards. Expensive cities normalize expensive lifestyles. Cheaper cities make living frugally and investing heavily normal. You unconsciously calibrate to whatever the local standard is. Most importantly, location shapes what feels possible. If nobody around you has done something, it feels impossible, even if it's not. If lots of people around you have done it, it feels normal and achievable. Location quietly shapes the ceiling of your life. It's not deterministic, you can overcome it, but it creates friction that can significantly affect your trajectory. This is why where you live is one of the most important decisions you can make as an online earner or entrepreneur, and most people just default to living wherever they ended up being born. When you spend months living abroad, not vacationing, but actually living and working there, you start meeting very different people, and this changes everything. You meet people building businesses in completely different niches or verticals than yours. People who have been location independent for years and seem to have things more figured out. People investing aggressively and thinking more long-term about wealth building. And people living internationally and optimizing their lives more intentionally. The energy is completely different. You're no longer the weird one for wanting more than a normal life. You're not explaining why you work online or care about location independence or why you invest heavily. People in these communities already get it. That shared understanding creates a foundation for deeper, more valuable relationships. In Bali, Lisbon, Chiang Mai, or even cities like Warsaw or Prague, there are huge communities of online earners. You can walk into a co-working space and find people who are working on interesting projects and understand your lifestyle. The conversations are different. Instead of explaining what you do or defending your choices, you're sharing strategies, collaborating on projects or businesses, learning from people who are ahead of you, and helping people who are behind you. Real business opportunities emerge from these connections. Partnerships, collaborations, client referrals, mastermind groups, accountability partners. But you probably already know you can get massive business opportunities by just meeting the right people in the right city. But beyond business, the social fulfillment matters just as much. You're around people that share the same values to you around freedom, growth, and building something meaningful. And that sense of belonging is extremely valuable. Compare that to a city where no one understands what you do or why you live the way you live, where you're constantly explaining and defending instead of collecting and collaborating. This solves the loneliness problem I mentioned earlier, while simultaneously accelerating your business and personal growth. You're not choosing between social life and success, you get both. I need to address something because most people hear I travel or I've been to other countries and they assume they've experienced what I'm talking about. But a 1 or 2 week vacation is completely different than living somewhere for a month or longer. On a typical vacation, you spend money rushing through experiences because you're trying to see everything since you have limited time. You stay in tourist areas, you eat at tourist restaurants, you do tourist activities. You don't build routines, you don't get invited to local events or gatherings, you don't form real relationships because you're leaving in a few days. You don't experience what normal life is actually like living in that place. Then you come back home to the exact same life. Same isolation, same expensive lifestyle, same routine. The vacation was a brief escape, but it didn't change anything fundamental. Living somewhere for a month, 2 months, or longer is completely different. You set up a routine, work hours, gym, regular coffee shops. You start recognizing faces and people start recognizing you. You get invited to things. You make actual friends, not just travel acquaintances. You experience the city during normal Tuesday afternoons, not just highlight moments. You understand the culture deeper because you're living it, not just being a tourist. That's where you actually learn about different ways of living. That's where you build the relationships that matter and figure out what type of life you actually want. And ironically, living abroad for a few months can cost less than your life at home because your expenses drop. Let's talk about the money side of this because it's just as important. A lot of entrepreneurs feel frustrated with their financial progress even though they're making decent income. You're making money online, let's say $4,000 to $6,000 a month, which is solid income, but you're your investment portfolio isn't growing as fast as you'd like it to. You're investing, but inconsistently. There's never as much left over as you thought there would be. You're not being irresponsible, you're not buying crazy luxury items, you're just living a normal life. But somehow money disappears and investing feels like you're trying to squeeze water through a stone. The issue isn't your income or discipline. The problem is that your baseline lifestyle is expensive because of where you live. Living in the US, most cities force you into high rent, car ownership, car insurance, expensive food, consistent spending on basic necessities. Even if you're being reasonable with your spending, you're burning through $3,000–$4,000 a month just on existing. Let's say you make $5,000 monthly. After $4,000 of expenses, you have $1,000 left. You try to invest $600 or $800 of that, which leaves not much money left for enjoying life with. So some months you invest $800, some months you invest $200 or $300. Other months you invest nothing because you had extra expenses that month. This inconsistency kills compound growth. You watch your portfolio grow slowly, way slower than the success stories you see online. You start questioning if you're doing something wrong. Maybe you need to make more money, maybe you need a different investment strategy. But your real issue is that your environment and lifestyle make consistent and aggressive investing almost impossible. Even with good income, high expenses leave you with a minimal surplus to deploy into investments. In over 5 to 10 years, this difference compounds into tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, not because you made bad decisions, but because your location made good decisions extremely difficult. Now let me show you what actually changes when you spend months living in cheaper, high quality countries. This is where everything can start to click financially. Your rent drops from $2,000 a month to $800 or $1,300 a month. And this is for comparable or better quality living space. Your transportation costs disappear. No car payment, no car insurance, no gas. Public transport is like $30 a month, or you can just walk everywhere. Food costs drop dramatically. Meals out are $6 to $15 instead of $15 to $30. Random expenses, services, or entertainment drop or cost less. This means you have real surplus every month, not theoretical surplus on a spreadsheet where you're just supposed to spend less. Actual surplus that happens naturally because your baseline costs are lower. Alright, so let's do the math. Say you're making $5,000 a month. Living in the US, you might have $4,000 a month in expenses, then $1,000 left over. Living abroad with that same income, you might have $2,200 in expenses, then $2,800 left over. That's $1,800 a month more left over to invest, save, or deploy towards opportunities. And I'm not talking you have to go to a dangerous country like in South America. I'm talking about normal, high-quality countries such as those in Central or Eastern Europe. Anyways, $1,800 monthly is $21,600 annually. That's not pocket change, that's life-changing amounts of capital over time. With that surplus, you can invest $2,000 or $2,500 a month consistently, instead of just struggling to invest $600 a month consistently. You can build an emergency fund quickly, you can invest in business growth opportunities, you can take strategic risks because you have a cushion. But beyond the numbers, there's a psychological shift. You're not checking your account before making normal purchases, and you're not worried about unexpected expenses destroying your budget. This financial breathing room makes consistent investing automatic instead of painful. You set up automatic monthly investments and you forget about them because you know the money is there. And that consistency is what unlocks the compound growth. Investing $2,400 monthly for 10 years at 8% growth per year is $440,000. That's nearly $500,000 built purely from living somewhere else strategically. Let me show you exactly how living abroad unlocks the financial consistency that actually builds wealth. When you're investing inconsistently, like $800 one month, next month $300, then the next month $0, you miss the benefits of dollar cost averaging. You don't build the habit. Your portfolio grows in sprouts instead of steadily. When you have a consistent surplus from living abroad, investing becomes automatic. You set up $2,000 of monthly investments going from your account to your investment account on the first of every month. And it happens whether you think about it or you don't. This removes the emotional decision making. You're not deciding every month whether to invest or not depending on how you feel or whatever else is going on. It just happens consistently. So inconsistent investing, say on average you invest $700 a month throughout the course of a year. Some months higher, some months lower, some months zero. That's $8,400 annually. After 10 years at 8%, that's $128,000. In consistent investing from living abroad, say you're investing $2,400 a month every month, that's $28,800 annually. After 10 years at 8%, that's $440,000. That's $312,000 in more wealth in the same time period. purely from having the surplus to invest consistently and aggressively. This is the power of combining location arbitrage with disciplined investing. Plus, once your portfolio reaches significant milestones like 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, the compound growth itself starts contributing significantly. An 8% return on 200,000 is $16,000 annually, and that accelerates growth even more. This is how actual wealth gets built, not just from getting lucky, having some secret strategy, or hitting some crypto pump. It's from having the financial structure that allows long-term consistent investing. Here's something that people get wrong about discipline and wealth building. They think it's about willpower and motivation, when in reality a ton of it is about environment design. Trying to invest aggressively while living in a city that has very high baseline expenses requires significant willpower. Every month you're fighting against your environment to save money. You're resisting the temptation to upgrade your apartment, resisting expensive restaurant culture, resisting expensive lifestyle inflation that everyone around you participates in. Willpower is a finite resource. You can't rely on it indefinitely. Maybe you'll end up slipping. You justify an expense. You skip an investment month. The friction wears you down. But cheaper environments remove that friction automatically. You don't need willpower to invest when you have $2,800 left over at the end of the month instead of only having $1,000. The good decision becomes the easy decision. Your default in an expensive place is naturally expensive. Changing defaults is more powerful than trying to fight against them. In an expensive city, grabbing dinner with a friend costs $40 to $60 per person or more. That's the default. You need willpower to suggest cheaper alternatives. In a cheap city abroad, dinners cost 10, 20, maybe $30. That's the default. You're saving money while traveling while still having a great social life and no willpower required. When investing is easy because you have a surplus, it becomes a habit. When investing is painful because you're squeezing pennies, it becomes a chore. And habits formed in low friction environments stick. This is a massive advantage that people underestimate. You're not just saving money by living somewhere cheaper, you're making good financial decisions effortlessly and automatic. Let me discuss something that doesn't get brought up enough in entrepreneur circles. Where do you actually want to build your long-term life? Where do you want to be in 10 years? What city? What country? What kind of culture? What lifestyle? Where do you want to date and potentially find a long-term partner? Where might you want to raise kids someday? Most people just default to wherever they're currently living, wherever they were born, or wherever they're supposed to be according to family or social expectations. They never actually test different options to see what fits them. Living abroad for extended periods lets you test different futures instead of just guessing. You can spend 3 months in 5 different cities over the course of some years and actually understand what life would be at each place. You learn what cultures resonate with you. Some people love the direct communication style in places in Europe. Others perform the warmth of Latin cultures. And you won't know until you experience it. You learn what climates you function best in. Some people love sunshine year-round. Others love distinct seasons. You learn about different dating cultures and what type of partner you can meet in different places. And if you're thinking long-term and thinking about kids, this matters a ton. You learn what lifestyle actually makes you happy, not just what you think should make you happy. Maybe you thought you want a busy city life, but prefer a slower, calmer place, or vice versa. This exploration phase is incredibly valuable, especially before you settle down. Once you have a serious relationship, kids, property, it's much harder to move around and test options. In your 20s can be a great time to figure this out. And the goal here isn't necessarily to move abroad or move around forever. The goal here is to make informed decisions about where you want to live your life based on actual experiences, not guesses or defaults. I want to be honest about the mistakes I made doing this because I didn't figure out everything perfectly. I chose some wrong places early on. I went to cities that didn't seem to fit my personality or goals. I massively underestimated how lonely the first few weeks in a new place would be. I didn't have systems for meeting people quickly, so I'd spend time being isolated before having real relationships. I didn't have enough structure for my work routine at first. Without the structure of an office or set schedule, my productivity fluctuated wildly. I had to learn how to create structure for myself. I tried to figure out everything solo instead of learning from people who had actually done it. This cost me time, money, and unnecessary stress. And there was definitely a learning curve. Which cities have good entrepreneurial communities, how to find quality accommodations, how to maintain business operations while moving abroad, and how to stay consistent with investing and habits. If I could do it again, I'd connect with experienced people before making moves. I'd research communities more thoroughly. I'd have better systems for making routines. I'd start with easier places instead of starting with more challenging ones. I'm sharing this because you can learn from my mistakes instead of repeating them. The transition to living abroad can be smooth if you do it strategically, or it can be rocky rocky if you just wing it like I did initially. That's why now it's my goal to help entrepreneurs or online earners make this transition properly. Not recklessly, not permanently, not blindly, but with structure, clarity, and intention. I'm building a service for people who want to live and work internationally without guessing or burning months on trial and error. The focus is on making strategic location decisions, not just picking random cities that sound exciting. Choices are based on your goals, personality, and business needs, so the location actually supports your work and life and doesn't fight against it. A big part of the process is arriving with momentum. That means identifying and connecting with the right communities before you even get there. So then when you land in a new place, you're not really starting from zero, you already have a social foundation. Financial planning is a core pillar. The structure is designed to take advantage of geographic arbitrage by setting up automatic investing, choosing the right accounts, and building systems that continue working even while you're traveling. Another key element is avoiding the key mistakes that people make when trying to do this on their own. Things like choosing the wrong cities, underestimating logistics, productivity issues, and social isolation. The goal is to get the upside without the painful learning curve. For anyone who's hesitant to jump straight into living abroad for months, this approach supports gradual transitions. This might look like a 4 to 6 week trip first, then extending only if it's clearly working. This isn't about sacrificing business for lifestyle. It's about using location and lifestyle strategically to grow your business and grow long-term wealth. This isn't some sell everything and become a nomad forever pitch. Most people don't want that anyways. It's about strategically using months abroad to accelerate wealth building, expand networks, and gain clarity on long-term decisions. If you're feeling isolated, grinding alone in the same place, frustrated with slow wealth growth despite good income, unsure about where you want to build your long-term life, or just tired of the repetitive culture, I can help. Click the link in the description to book a call with me. This isn't some high-pressure sales call. We'll talk about your current situation, expenses, goals, concerns. I'll explain the specific strategies to help you live or travel abroad, meet the right people, lowering expenses while maintaining or elevating your lifestyle, and help you accelerate your investment portfolio growth. This is for entrepreneurs or online earners who are already making decent online income, at least $4,000 a month or more, but feel stuck in their current situation and want to optimize their environment. I want to emphasize something important. This isn't an all or nothing decision. This isn't move abroad forever or don't do it at all. You can spend a few months abroad, come home, adjust, and repeat. You can do 6 months abroad, 6 months home. You can do seasonal splits, summers in Europe, winters somewhere warm. The whole point in the beginning is experimentation, finding what works for you, finding what fits your business needs, your personality, your lifestyle. You're not burning bridges or making permanent commitments. You're just trying something different to see if it improves your life, your business, and your wealth building. That flexibility is the real power. You're not just trapped in one place. You're not just locked into one decision. You have options and you can adjust based on what you learn. And this is all reversible. Don't like living abroad? Just come home. Miss your home country? Visit regularly or move back. The whole point is having choices instead of defaults. We're trying to be decentralized. Let me bring this all together with what the title actually means. You don't necessarily have an income problem. If you're an entrepreneur making $3,000, $4,000 a month or more, you have the location freedom that most people in the world wish they had. You're already ahead of most people in terms of financial potential. The real problem is living in an environment that keeps you isolated from people doing similar things and drains your money through high baseline costs and limits your options for what kind of future you can build. Change the location even temporarily, even for just 6 to 12 months, and unlock a whole different trajectory. Lower expenses means consistent, more aggressive investing. Better communities means accelerated growth and opportunities. Different cultures mean more clarity on what you want long term. That's the location problem. It's not where you are now is terrible. It's that it's blocking your potential in ways you don't even realize until you experience the alternative. If this resonates with you, if you feel stuck despite earning good money, if you're ready to actually do something about it, book that call. Let's talk about your specific situation and see how this could work for you. You've already done the hard part by building the online income. Now it's just about being strategic with that advantage instead of letting the environment dictate what's possible. I created a video breaking down exactly how I built a 6-figure investment portfolio by 22. Click the video on the screen to watch.